Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Fascinating article in the African Business Magazine by Thomas Collins, who's actually somewhere in my building. Very interesting scholarship that you can see again here. Sudan's gold, Hemedti's untold power. With a violent past and control of a paramilitary force estimated to number as many as 40,000. In 2017, Sudan produced 107 tons of gold, making it the third largest producer on the continent after Ghana and South Africa. 70% of the output is estimated to be smuggled abroad. Although the true size of the illicit trade is hard to quantify, through his militia, Hemedti controls one of the country's most lucrative gold mines, Jebel Amr in North Darfur. In 2015, a report drawn up for the UN Security Council found that, at that time it was controlled by another militia, Hilal's militia, was making up to $54 million a year from the control of the Jebel Amr gold mine. And now Hemedti's in control of it. I would say that Sudan is occupied now because the troops that he's using to control and monopolize power, most of them are not even Sudanese. They are recruited from Chad, Mali, and Niger. They are from the Sahel. Almost everything makes its way east to Khartoum, says Ismail. From there it is almost exclusively sold to traders in the UAE. Comtrade data shows that the UAE imported $15.1 billion worth of gold from Africa in 2016, more than any other country and up from $1.3 billion in 2006. The share of African gold in the UAE's gold imports increased from 18% to nearly 50% over the same period, and the industry accounts for approximately 1/5 of the country's total GDP. The substantial offtake of Sudanese gold in Dubai's markets suggests that economic considerations are part of the UAE's checkbook diplomacy. This is old-fashioned colonialism, isn't it? He's actually using his own money to maintain control over it, which saw a joint $3 billion aid package pumped into Khartoum alongside Saudi Arabia. Ismail speculates that on top of that, he's receiving between $2,000 and $3,000 a month per person as payment for outsourcing his troops into the Yemen. Talking about Russian involvement and how they see Sudan as the entry point into Africa. And as for Hemedti, it's clear that the vast amount of money earned from his gold mining activities is a key enabler of the fearsome power he continues to wield in Khartoum and beyond. I wrote about it and said we have two visions of the future. One vision played out on our screens. The protesters could have been our wives, our children, our daughters and sons. The other vision is that of MBS, MBZ and Al-Sisi, and it's red in tooth and claw. And then I was quoting Hugh Masekela, I want to be there when the people start to turn it around. And I said Sudan is at a Masekela pivot moment. I spoke about the zeitgeist of the revolution in Khartoum, which was as intoxicating as the oud that the Saudi Arabian ambassador once gave me. And I found myself semi-delirious, intoxicated on my own perfume. Very bizarre. IATA says Zimbabwe owes airlines $196 million in trapped funds. They've been meeting with President Mnangagwa to finalize a payment plan. Treasury bill auctions make a comeback. Zimbabwe says it's preparing an infrastructure bond. In the Tuesday auction, Treasury offered a 91-day bill at 16.5%, a 180-day T-bill at 19.6%, and a 365-day T-bill at 17%. A total $80 million was on offer in the auction, but this is considerably below the inflation rate. So I wonder what the take-up was. South African all shares up 8.02% year to date, coming off the highs. Dollar rand 14.20 area. Egyptian pound 16.6197. EGX 30 up 8.14% year to date. Nestle has been displaced as Nigeria's third most valuable company after Airtel's debut on the country's stock exchange, Bloomberg. Nigerian all-share down 6.72% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange down 6.95% year to date. The big read from the Financial Times: can João Lourenço cure Angola of its crony capitalism? It's a great article, read it in full. Celestino Chivava, who worked in the Angolan oil industry until he lost his job after the price collapse of 2014, describes how families wash the bodies of their loved ones on a slab outside. This is a public morgue. They put perfume in the mouth to stop the corpse smelling, he says, of the capital's do-it-yourself funeral services. Sometimes when the electricity goes off, the bodies get stuck together and the families have to pull them apart. In a 2011 audit, the IMF identified a $32 billion discrepancy linked largely to quasi-fiscal operations by state oil company Sonangol that did not appear in official budget accounts. So far, it's more of a vendetta and less of a systemic cleanup, though I'm not closing the file on future progress. Ricardo Soares de Oliveira. Lourenço has already signed a $3.7 billion credit facility with the IMF, the biggest ever such arrangement made by an African country. Angola's ratio of debt to GDP is close to 100%. The new president has also made sweeping changes to the oil industry in an effort to revive production that has fallen from 1.9 million barrels a day to 1.4 million barrels per day. That's a big drop in income. Oil accounts for 95% of the country's foreign revenue, making Angola possibly the most commodity-dependent country in Africa. Until a massive devaluation of the kwanza of 85% last year, the elite simply imported everything they needed, from diesel to champagne. Mr. Vigas grasped the magnitude of the task. He adds, every stone you turn, you don't find a pearl, you find a snake. The country's on the move. Things are really changing and changing fast, he says, pointing to evidence from a drive to weed out undercapitalized banks to a new investment law allowing foreigners to enter Angola without a local partner. Mr. Marquez has a simple interpretation. If you surround yourself with sharks, it's because you like sharks, he says. If I had to summarize what's happening in the country, I would say the president came in with very good intentions, unprecedented political goodwill, and a total lack of vision on how to proceed. Angola's pitch as a safe haven for foreign investment is still a work in progress. The economy continues to suffer. GDP is predicted by the IMF to grow by less than 0.5% this year. He cannot be a reformist, said Marquez, by saving the party and throwing breadcrumbs and false promises to the people.